Hi everybody, welcome back to CSCI100. In this video, I'm going to talk about the search engine project. Now this is a project that's done in combination with CSCI120. So if you're in both classes, which is most of you, this project will serve as your final project for both classes. So the score you get here will apply to both classes. Now, if you're only in my class and not in CSCI120, you still have to do this project. This is our final project. Now in this project, we're going to be building a search engine. That's kind of cool because probably it's the thing that we use the most every day. Search for stuff on Google all the time, or Bing, or Yahoo, or DuckDuckGo, or there are many different search engines, but many people use Google. Now I'm going to show you how to get started on this project, but this will not be a video like the ones I've made for some of the other assignments. There have been a couple of assignments that have been on the harder side, and to avoid having you spend too long on them, I've made a video just like this one, giving some hints on how to start, or giving you some key idea that would help you implement the assignment. That's not the case for this project. This project, I feel, is easier than your last project in terms of the amount of code you write or the stuff that your code has to do. But here you will have to learn how to read a larger code base. Now, what is a code base? A code base is a collection of files. And Google has a massive code base. Google's code base is made up of all of these different files. As you've seen in Python, you can create modules. You can make functions in particular files and call those functions from a different file. And there are just millions of these files at Google. Here, you guys will be working with just a few files. And nothing overly complicated, but it's the first time that you're seeing kind of more than two files interacting with each other. And so it'll take some time for you to get used to that. I say all this to point out that I can't say too much about the project in my video because part of the main difficulty of this project is reading the instructions and understanding how things fit together. That said, I'll still show you more or less how to get started. So let's come over here to the project page. And here I am logged in with my test account, CSCI100 student. And I'd come here and I'd click Open in Mimir IDE. Click Open in Mimir IDE. And this pulls up the Mimir IDE. And we'll see the project get pulled up here. So over here, I have CSCI 100 120 project search. Now, the very first thing you should do before even reading your files is to come, looking at these files, is to come back over here and read the instructions for the project. Here it says we're implementing our very own search engine. This project has multiple parts. So let's look at the part 1 instructions. Now I've got this Google Doc here written up for you that has instructions about what you're supposed to do for this project. You are going to have to read through all of these pages. Notice that a majority of these pages is us giving you examples of what input and output is expected. And so, yes, it looks like 10 pages of reading. It's really not that much. There's a summary of the project. There's an explanation of what each of the files are. And then there's a description for each part, each function that you need to write for this project. And so we'll come here, read through this. Okay, there's a search.py, which is where we implement our search functionality, and search tests.py, where we're going to be adding unit and integration tests. Here we can see wiki.py provides functions to help us write the search code. We shouldn't change this, so we'll be able to call article titles, ask search, and ask advanced search. Okay, we'll see what those do in a minute. And then search tests helper helps us write test code. So we can use these 4 functions to write our tests. Now we get over here to the description of this whole part 1 of the project. So here, to run a basic search, ask the user for a keyword and use the keyword to search the complete list of articles. This is done in function number 1 in search.py. Okay, well, search.py is being mentioned a lot here. So why don't we come over here and take a look at search.py. On the left, we have all of our files, all the same files that were described above, right? search.py, search tests, wiki.py, so on and so forth. And let's open up search.py. So what do we have here? First of all, long file, 140 lines. But notice that a lot of this file is comments explaining and giving hints on what to do. So we have very clear docstring style comments here. They'll explain to you, this is a function called search. The parameters for that function, for this function, should just be keyword, and this will be a search word to look for. And this function will return a list of article titles containing the given keyword. And it even specifies, if we give you an empty keyword, you should return an empty list. And now notice we have a hint. So to get the list of existing article titles, use article titles. Call these article titles function. And what was that article titles function? Well, we can see it in two ways. At the top, we have this import. And I know usually you've seen something like import wiki, and then you've been able to call functions by doing wiki.article titles. But there's this other way that you can format a import statement, which looks like this. Instead, you can say from wiki, which is the name of the file minus .py. So this is the module name. Import, and then the function names. And this way, the only difference is now inside of your function, your file here, instead of having to do wiki.article titles, because you explicitly listed that you want to import these particular functions from wiki, you can call your function just like this, just with article titles, as if it were defined in this very file. So that can be kind of handy. Okay, so I see there are all these functions that need to be implemented here. Let's go back and finish, read more through this document. So when running a search, the basic search will always be run. So we're working with a limited set of articles. Okay, so if we give the input dog, this will be the expected output of our code. For volleyball, this should be the expected output. So on and so forth. Now, to run our search engine, we will finish reading through here. And here we have instructions, by the way, of what exactly we need to submit, the checklist, all of the tests. But let's go back up and see what our instructions said about running. So search. Our instructions said, way back up here, that to run a basic search, blah, 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 and this is already done for you in function number 1 in search.py. Now let's go and look at which function here. So if we scroll down, we see all these functions we need to implement. And then we see this display result function. And if we read through here, we can see we call ask search, and we pass in whatever the user gives for ask search. And by the way, where is ask search? So that was one of the functions that was imported. So if we track it down, it came from the wiki module. Do wiki.py, and if we look for command F ask search, well, we can see here that all this does is it just takes input from the user and returns input from the user. And so then we'll track down what it does next. At the very end here, we have if name equal main display result. All this conditional does here, when you see this conditional, it just means only call display result if the function, if the code is being run from the terminal. If it's instead being imported by some other file, if someone were to import search as a module, this won't get triggered. Display results won't get triggered. And so if we try running Python 3 search.py, well, the first thing that happens is we get this search error. Let me make this a little bigger so it's easier to read. Let's try this one more time. We will do, Python 3 search.py. Okay, an indentation error. Well, let's take a look. What does our comment say? Okay, if advanced equals 1, value stores max article title length and number of characters. Update article titles contain only one of the maximum length. To do, uncomment the following line after writing the function. Okay, so this will be the body. This will be the body of this conditional, but title length doesn't exist as a function yet, right? We haven't implemented it here. And so instead, until that function is implemented, let's put a pass here. Remember how Python expects something to come after an indented conditional like this? There has to be at least one line, and pass is this keyword that we can use that doesn't do anything. It just sits there and takes up space. And that makes Python not complain about syntax. Cool, so we put a pass there. Okay, now it says there's an issue at line 118. It's expecting an indented block. Okay, well that's because we have the same exact issue. We need to put a pass until we've implemented this article count function. So if I save my file, I run this again, same thing here for 4. So let me put a pass. Whoops, and I'll put a pass here. And all of these actually need a pass because comments alone don't count as lines. Remember, the compiler just throws them away. It ignores comments. Okay, so now that we've added passes after each of our conditions here, let's try running our code. And one last issue, name search is not defined. Well, that makes sense because the very first thing we do up here is we call the search function given ask search. And remember what ask search did? It just took input from the user. So that means you will have to implement the search function for our code to be able to run. So I'll come up here and I will create a search function. And the search function takes one parameter, keyword, and it needs to return the list of article titles containing the given keyword. For now, I'm just going to return a list with the word Alex, even though that's not valid. Okay, now we've created a search function. Python should be happy with us. So if I run python3 search.py, I get this prompt that says, what are you searching for? And I'm going to type in dog. I'm searching for dog. And then it asks me any advanced searches. So article title length, number of articles, so on and so forth. These will be the functions that you implement. Or 6 is none. And it asks me to please enter a number corresponding to which advanced search I'd like to perform. So I'll put in 6 for none, and enter. And it returns to me the results. These are the articles from the search engine. Now, of course, I just returned Alex, which makes no sense for dog. And you'll notice if I run this with any other keyword, so I run it with keyword Howard, well, I select 6 for none, it still returns Alex. So you need to make this actually return something useful by following the directions from the doc. And I'll stop there. That's how you get your code running. And a basic overview of how the search engine should function. Again, this will be a fun project because for part 1, we're doing the search engine just based on the title. But then in parts 2 and 3, we'll start to use some metadata. And metadata is additional information beyond just the title, like keywords that appear on the page, when it was published, etc., etc. That's very similar to how Google works. Just Google has the entire web mapped. They've crawled the entire web, and so they know what all the pages are. Good luck with the project, and please ask on Piazza or come to office hours if you have any questions. Good luck. Bye.